All right. Thank you so much for having us here. I really appreciate your time. And thank you for allowing us to sit earlier on. I think I've been missing church, to be honest, okay? But I grew up Christian all my life. My mom would be very, very happy, I was talking to my mom earlier. She's very happy that I'm coming here to spread our financial education with our community, okay? So I just wanted to maybe if you guys can have a seat, if you like, yeah. So today I just want to cover a little bit about our campaign and what we do. My goal is for you to actually take something practical away that you can implement to your own financial strategy, okay? So today we were talking about, connecting with God and having a breakthrough, okay? And I think that's a very important thing. Those breakthroughs don't come magically. We have to dedicate ourselves. So same thing with our financial education. We have to dedicate ourselves to start to learn, okay? Learn about this stuff. Because when it comes to finances, in the U.S., it changes consistently. It changes all the time. So we want to make sure that we know how things work so we can put our family in a good position, okay? So just a little background on myself. I first started, actually, I'm from Canada, okay? So actually, my mom is from El Salvador. She came here to the U.S., and had me, and then I moved to Canada when I was 5 years old. So I grew up in Canada. My original career was a mechanical engineer, okay? That's what my career was. But then eventually, I transitioned out of that. I went into business, okay? I actually owned a restaurant. I don't know, anybody own a restaurant or done food business? No? Oh, it's very tough, okay? It's a very tough career, okay? So I had my own restaurant for a little while, about a year and so, but then I sold my part because I didn't realize that in business you have to be there very early morning, and then you have to close the restaurant too, okay? So after about a year, I was very young, in my 20s, I decided to switch careers and find a different business. Eventually, I went into the film industry business. I did a lot of commercials. I did a lot of, I don't know if you've seen the Christmas movies through Hallmark. My company did a lot of those, actually. Okay, so I don't know if you liked those or didn't like that. I'm sorry, or you're welcome. But from there, I started making some good money, but I didn't know where to go to because nobody taught my mom financial education, right? So luckily, she sacrificed everything for me to have an opportunity to be in this country. So when I started to seek financial education, I went to the bank, and a lot of you may have sat with an advisor before, but advisor, to me, it was like they were speaking a different language. They showed me a bunch of charts and said a bunch of jargon, and then I just kind of agreed to whatever they gave me, and that's what I thought financial advice was. So luckily, I was talking to my friend Mark, and I said, hey, I actually don't know what I have, and I was concerned. So he said, oh, I actually teach this stuff. And I said, do you mind sitting down with me so I can actually teach you how these things work? And he said, yes, of course, I'll sit down with you. So very fortunately, he sat down with me and educated me. He helped me understand goals. He helped me understand how to build a proper financial foundation. So the things that he taught me are the fundamentals. Okay, so today I'm going to go through a lot of the fundamentals. It's quite a bit of information, but like I said, I'm going to take you're going to walk away today with a couple things you can implement into your financial strategy right away, okay? So, and then after that, we'll give survey cards out. We'd love to hear what you like to learn about so that, as we move forward, we can focus on those things for you and our community, okay? So our campaign, it's called WSB, but our campaign is National Campaign for Financial Literacy. We want to educate 30 million families by the year 2030, okay? Do I have a clicker, or are you guys will do it? Okay, awesome, thank you. Okay, next slide. So this is what we find, is that a lot of people are facing a lot of financial challenges, and in the U.S., we find that, when I first started my first job, nobody sat down with me to help understand how taxes worked. So I just did whatever everybody else was doing. So I don't know if you work at a job, maybe they offer you a financial product like a 401k or 403b or all those things. And then you just say, okay, I don't know what to do. So you just make a decision based on that, on what everybody else does. Through time, you start to develop habits. Some of them may not be good. Okay, so I find that a lot of people fall into this trap of debt as well. And it's all just habits. And those little bad habits lead to a lot of big decisions. And all of a sudden, we're in trouble. A lot of people don't have an emergency fund. A lot of people don't have any clear goals. They spend a lot, and they don't understand how to budget. So next slide. These are the things that we look at, okay? Number one is we're going to live a long time, which is good news, which is awesome, okay? We are going to live a long time because, science and technology is improving all the time, so we will live longer. But the problem is that a lot of us don't have a very clear strategy for the things that are coming. I always think of my mom. Okay, so my mom is still very young. She's 66, super strong. She's good, okay? But I think of my mom in the next 20 years. Will she need transportation? Maybe she'll be healthy, but how can she get around? So luckily, I've been able to retire my mom, and she has a car, and she's able to take herself everywhere. But I'm starting to notice some things, like little fender bender here and there. So then I worry, well, then I'm going to have to come up with more money to provide transportation for her to get around. I also think about things like Social Security. I mean, I don't know what the president or what they're doing up there, but all I know is that Social Security is in jeopardy, and I don't know if I can count on that for my future. So I got to think about legacy as well. How do I transfer wealth? A lot of times people don't have a will or a trust and don't even bother even looking at it because they think it's too expensive, or they think, oh, well, I don't have anything, I don't need to get one of these things. Well, to do a will doesn't cost anything. In fact, I'm doing a couple seminars with a few different people where we're all getting together and we're going to do a will together. Okay, so maybe at one point we can all get together and we can start doing wills. It actually doesn't cost anything. Okay, but I'll walk you through it so you understand how to do these things, okay? Next slide. So this is our financial foundation. The core principles of what I teach every single person is how to set these things up. But I need to find out what your situation is today. Okay, so click on, yeah. So what is your current financial situation? But then what do we need to get to? So when I look at someone's financial situation, I look at the proper protection. If you click one more time. For proper protection, we should at least have 10 times of our income. The reason why is because we find that it takes about 10 years for a family to recover from losing someone. Okay, so we want to make sure that we leave our family in a good position so that they can take care and live their goals still. But then at the same time, we want to make sure we have debt management. See, through time, when I was in my 20s, nobody taught me about credit cards, so I got myself into debt. And debt is it wasn't because I spent a lot, it's just because I had emergencies. And emergencies got me into a lot of debt. So when I sat down with my friend Mark, I'm going to be honest with you, I was actually pretty embarrassed. Because based on my position and my career, I felt I should have been in a stronger position. So I actually didn't tell him the truth. After a year, I said, hey, Mark, you know what? Actually, I do have this debt. I had $17,000 worth of debt, and it's just because I had different emergencies happen. And eventually, I made it normal to use debt. So he sat down with me, and we built out a debt strategy for me to get out of debt. It took me a few years, but I've been debt-free since then. How I was able to stay out of debt is emergency fund. See, emergencies will happen, and we got to start to chip away and build up this emergency fund. 3 to 6 months of whatever our expenses are should just be sitting in a savings account, okay, in case something does go wrong, not invested. And the last thing is you got to have investments. You got to save for the future, your retirement, right, your legacy. So you should at least have 20 times your income, because what we're really saving for is your longest vacation. Okay, your longest vacation, well, hopefully I think I'll live forever. I don't know. But I'm still young. But I mean, at least 20 years so you can survive to pay your own bills. Okay, so next slide. So we teach something very simple, which is the X-curve concept. And you can go through the whole, this one slide. Yeah, thank you. See, I understand that there's two things that we need to do. See, when we're younger or now, we have a lot of responsibilities, but we don't have a lot of money. So we have to learn how to pay down our responsibilities. Our responsibilities could be a lot of things. Could be debt, could be our kids, could be our spouses, okay? It could be a lot of things. So we have a lot of responsibilities, but through time we want to pay down our mortgage and everything. But at the same time, we need to save, okay? Because time is a factor in our saving strategy. So a lot of times when I sit people, they say, hey, George, no, I'm just going to worry about my debt and later on I'll save. I say, no, you can't do that. You have to do both at the same time. So on the left side of this X, what you need is you need to have protection, okay? So a lot of people say, well, how do I calculate how much protection my family needs? Well, this is an easy way for you to understand what you need. Number one is we take any debt, your income times 10, mortgage if you have one, and if you're saving for kids' education, save that as well. That's what equals your insurable need. But in the future, we don't need protection. What we need is money, okay? So we need to learn how to save money, but money has a formula, and we need to understand that formula. So number one is we need to save money. We need to have time, okay? Understand our rate of return, which we'll learn a little bit about today too. Inflation. Everything goes up in price every year. You'll notice in the last few years here, it's been pretty crazy. Taxes as well. Because yes, the government likes to tax you on any money that you grow as well. So after all these things, that's what actually equals real wealth, okay? Next slide. What about debt? See, for me, when I had debt, it controlled my thoughts, it controlled how I did things and decisions on a daily basis. So I need to build you a strategy on how to get out of debt, but how do I do that? Well, number one, I help organize all your debts, highest debt to lowest debt. So a typical family that I sit down with looks like this. They have maybe a mortgage, they have a bank loan, they have a MasterCard, credit card, car loan, etc. Okay? The secret to your financial strategy is not making huge changes. Because a lot of people say, that's it, we're never going out to eat, or that's it, we're never going to have a coffee. No, we have to make small changes over time to actually equal big results. So I help people find an extra $100 in the money they already have to help put it into their debt. So if you look at the strategy, we have this individual who basically, normally what they do when I see debts is they have a bunch of debts and then they get some money and they throw a bunch of debt into one card. And then they're like, oh, I don't have any money. So they use the card again. And it creates this pattern of up and down. So I want to just focus on the first debt, okay? And I'm just going to add an extra $100 to the minimum payment. And we're going to attack the lowest debt first. So in this scenario, we're adding an extra $100 to their minimum payment, which is now $110. And instead of 19 months to get rid of their debt, they're going to get rid of their debt in 2 months. And then we're going to move the debt over to the next one, and then to the next one. But this takes accountability. See, when I show people this strategy, they say, oh, George, yes, I've heard of this, and I know how to do it. But the problem is because you have family, work, kids, all these things, you don't actually take the time to sit and go through this stuff. So this is where we can help you start to implement these things and hold you accountable to get rid of your debt. But we can take a family from 30 years to pay off their debt to 17 years. That is a massive difference by just changing $100. But it's up to us to start to sit down to go through this thing, okay? Next one. So you can show the whole slide. So compound interest is very important. So if we are growing our money, then we need to understand how compound interest will affect the growth of our money. So for example, there's this thing called the Rule of 72. Okay, the Rule of 72 says, if you want to know how long it'll take for your money to double, just take the number 72 and divide it by the interest rate you're receiving. And that's what it will tell you the number of years it'll take for your money to double. So if we look at the first example, this person is receiving a 6% rate of return. 72 divided by 6 equals 12 years. So now every 12 years, your money will double. So let's say you have $10,000. Okay, we put it into this account at your bank. They give you 6% rate of return. 12 years later, it'll turn to 20,000, then to 40, then to 81. So you have a few years of doubling time. Now, generally what people think is if you get a 2% rate of return higher, then maybe you'll get 20% more. But that's not the truth. if you look at it, because it doubles every 9 years now, you have 159, almost 160,000. Your money almost doubled. So the rate of return really matters. So what are you receiving in your 401k? What are you receiving in your IRA? What are you receiving in the different programs you've selected for your retirement? What if you get 10%? Now your money doubles every 7.2 years. So look at the result, 309,000. These are three individuals having the same amount of money, but the result is very different over time. So you win by degrees and you lose by degrees. So we got to understand what we're doing and where our money's going. That's why the education is so important. So hopefully you go back and be like, hey, yeah, that's right. What is my 401k doing? What is my IRA doing? Because I need to understand what kind of rate of return. Am I winning or am I losing? So, for example, if you save $100 and you're earning a 5% interest, that means you make $5. But you have to pay taxes, so that's 25%, so you lose $1.25. So you're left with $103.75. But after inflation, you lose $3. So then really you're left with $100.75. So you're breaking even. So if you're saving money for your long term and you're not at least receiving 5%, you're going backwards. What is your positioning? What are you doing currently? Okay, next slide. So this is the challenge I have with a lot of people. Whenever I sit with someone, I need to develop a saving habit, okay? Now, I find usually immigrants that come to this country, they actually have a pretty good saving habit. It's actually not my biggest challenge, okay? But sometimes they have to send money back home, okay? I don't know if anybody here has to send a lot of money back home. Yeah, okay, me too, okay? Because I came to Canada, and then everybody in El Salvador thinks we're rich, okay? So, but we're just struggling too, okay? But here's the thing. We got to save for ourselves first. Pay yourself first. The most important person on the planet is you. We can't help anybody else if we can't help ourselves first. So develop this habit, okay? So the first challenge I have is say, can we save at least 10% of our income for the future, okay? So in this scenario, this person makes $60,000 a year. They save 10% a month, which is $500 a month, okay? When I first sat down with my friend Mark, you know, I was making over six figures, okay? But my saving habit was terrible. I spent every penny that was going out of style, okay? So he said, look, we just have to start somewhere. He said, can you save $100 a month? $50 a paycheck. I said, yeah, I can do that. That's where I started. I was 26 years old, and he helped me save $100 a month. But then 6 months later, he said, hey, can you save $50 more? I said, yeah, I can do that. So through time, he helped me build a habit of saving, okay? Now, this is a 30-year strategy. So that's another thing. There's no such rich quick. Somebody tell you get rich quick, you're probably going to lose your money, okay? This takes time. So if we have time, and then we understand how to get a higher rate of return, say 8%, we have $745,000. But what if we get educated, we understand how to take risk in our investments, and we get 10%? We have $1 million. But you notice that there's steps and processes to all this stuff. It's not just like, oh, all of a sudden you have $1 million. It's you gotta build a habit. You gotta be consistent. You gotta be patient. You gotta be disciplined. You gotta understand how to get higher rates of return. So this is a process to learn, okay? And then we can hit to that $1 million, okay? We can go to the next one. Thank you. Inflation, okay? I am sure you've seen this, and we can go through the whole slide here too. I won't get too much into this one just because I know that you can just see it every day. Your food is just getting more expensive. Your mortgage is more expensive. Housing is more expensive. Everything's getting more expensive. So this is the thing that nobody really takes into account for, is that you can see that your purchasing power is going down every single year. And they say the average is 3%, but I don't know. It doesn't feel that way, okay? It feels like it's a lot more. The reality is this. If our household expenses are $4,000 right now, in the future, we're going to at least have to have $7,200. That's the reality. So we have to start to, like I said, remember that 5%? If your money's not growing 5%, we have to make sure that we're keeping up with that too. Okay? We go to the next one. So where are we putting our money? See, whenever we receive money, we have to make a decision of where the money goes. Is it in a tax now account? So tax now basically means that if you decide to grow your money there, the government will tax you every year. Are you putting in a tax later? Meaning the government says, hey, you know what? Don't worry about paying taxes to us right now. But when you start to withdraw the money, we want our money now. Okay? When you have the most. Or is it tax advantage? Meaning that, hey, we're going to tax you today, but later on, if you have any growth, we're not going to tax you. Where are you positioning your money? Now, here's the thing we have to understand. We need to know what our goal is. Depending on what we're saving for, will determine where we put our money. So, for example, you say, hey, George, you mentioned that emergency fund. I need to build that. Where should I put that? Well, the emergency fund should be in your tax now account. And you select savings. Because in a tax now account and savings, there's not going to be any growth, so you don't have to worry about taxes. You don't want to lock in your money into something like a 401k, because in an emergency, you need to take out your money. And if you pull out the money, you get 10% penalty and taxes. So we got to make the right decision. So what if we were saving for, let's say, your 401k plan with your work? Okay, great. That's good. So now we know with that 401k plan, 59.5, we can start to take it out. Okay, we have to take off the taxes. And is it enough for us to live the retirement lifestyle that we want? If it's not, let's take a look at this tax advantage account. How does that one work? See, it's got to be a combination of things. It's not just like, oh, you need, I always hear, you need to get insurance. No, okay, maybe. But it's not just that. What about emergency fund? What about debt management strategy? What about your work plan? So it's got to be a combination of those things, because at the end of the day, you're going to withdraw money out of all of these accounts. And is what you're doing today going to be sufficient for you to have the lifestyle you want in the future? Okay, next slide. So I need to take a holistic approach to your strategy. Number one, am I getting the growth to beat taxes and inflation? But number two, is it safe enough? Look at what Trump's doing. I don't know if any Trump people here, but look at what I don't know what he's doing. I don't know what it doesn't even matter. It could be Biden, it could be whoever it is. I don't know what their plan is, but I need to make sure my money's safe. So is our money safe? Are you worried about the news? But is it tax advantaged? Because if we do such a good job of saving our money and growing it, but at the end of the day, the government takes 25%, maybe that's not good either. What about proper protection? What if something goes wrong along the way? Are you okay if you get sick? Or will you have to rely on your kids? The one thing that scares me the most, and so Elizabeth is my wife, okay? So the one thing that scares me the most is, as we have kids, I don't want my kids to have to take care of me. So I need to make sure that I'm in the right position so that never happens. And my mom has the same fear. My mom doesn't want me to take care of her. Unfortunately, because she did sacrifice everything, I said, Mom, don't worry, I take care of you. But I know in her heart, she still feels like, no, I want to take care of myself. So she has her own protection and stuff as well. Okay? Next slide. So when building your future, we have to look at every aspect. It can't just be one thing. It can't just be saving for retirement. It can't just be life insurance or long-term care or critical illness. It has to be everything. So when I work with someone, I say it's like building a house. You need to make sure all aspects of your house, the foundation, roof, electrical, plumbing, interior, are all working together. The same applies when building your financial future. So when I look at this, then I got to say, well, if you're saving for your kids' education, well, what is the strategy for that? But if we're looking to make sure if something goes wrong on the way, what is our protection? Do we understand how to budget? Do we know how to take care of our debts? Are we growing our assets? What about retirement? What about taxes? What about your estate? What about legacy? See, the thing that I find is a lot of people are struggling here in the US, but it's us. We cannot rely on everybody else. We have to make the change. We have to take the time to be educated so we can put our family in a better position so there's legacy. So I save a lot of money every single month, but to be honest, all the money I save and protection I have is to put my kids in a stronger position. So then when they go to school or they go to do whatever they want, they can do their dreams. They don't have to make a decision based on financial challenges. This is how we change generational wealth. This is how we change us coming to America and changing the future forever for our kids, to put them in a position of power so we can change the system. So it all boils down to the education. So next slide. So maybe we need a financial checkup, okay? So this is where when I sit with someone, I say, look, the most important thing are your goals. When I sit with someone, I say, and this is something that you can work on yourselves, okay? In the next 12 months, what is the most important thing financially that we need to save for or take care of? It could be a number of things. It could be, hey, George, we're going on a vacation, or we have to go back home, so we need to save for that. It could be, oh, we need a car. I know that the car's going to break down. It could be saving for a home. It could be building an emergency fund. It could be getting out of debt. But what is the thing that you want to get accomplished in the next 12 months? After we figure that out, then we need to figure out, well, what do we do after that? Is it buying a home? Is it building a school back home? What is it? So we have to break everything down. And then on the last one, what is the lifestyle you want in your retirement years? Do you want to spend a lot of time with the grandkids? Do you want to spend time 6 months back home and 6 months here? So how are we planning? But everything you do in the first 12 months will slowly move over into 1 to 5 and then to the 5 plus. So I always tell people I'm kind of like a fortune teller, okay? Because I know based on your habits today and what you're doing today, I can tell you what your lifestyle will be in the future. But you can change. But if you have no understanding of what you do and you're not looking at this stuff all the time, you're going to go for immediate gratification. You're going to go for, my friend's birthday, or I hear there's like baby showers and baby moons, and there's so many parties where we have to give so many gifts to everyone. But this is designed for us to be consuming and putting us behind, so we have to change. Okay? So the last slide. So if we do make money and you say, hey, you know what, George, I'm going to get a part-time job or I'm going to make more income, then we need to know the education, because a lot of times people make more income, but then what happens is they just spend more money. So we need to know where the money's going. So that's why the clear goal is important. Because if you do need make more money, then you need to know where the money needs to go. Okay, so for me and my team, we want to build a community of financially educated people. My mom taught me something very simple when I was young. She said, if you're going to do bad things, you're going to hang out with bad people. If you want to do good things, you hang around good people. Pretty simple concept, but very complex. So same thing with us. If we want to create a financially educated community, we have to spend time with people that are talking about their goals. They're excited about paying off their mortgage. They're excited of saving for the kids' education. They're excited of getting out of debt. Those are the things that we need to have. It's got to be a common language thing. This whole system is a game. And the game is changed by the people up there all the time. In fact, every 4 or 8 years. So we need to know the rules of the game. If you do not know the rules of the game, you will lose. So we got to start to have this language. So the reason why I was invited is to hopefully spark something in you. To say, hey, you know what? That's right. I do need to learn something. I do need to take action. Work with someone you trust. That's another thing. I know I'm a financial educator. Of course, I want to work with you. But I would rather you work with someone you trust. I'm happy to bring the education. If you have the education, you can go to the person that you're already working with and work with them. But at least now you know what you're talking about. Okay? So I wanted to, that's the end for us. So I wanted to, yes, Femi? Yeah. for sure. Yeah. So yeah, definitely. I know I try to keep it as short as possible so everybody can go to lunch too. But yes. Yes. Sure. Hmm. Yeah. Right. Mm. Okay. Right. Right. Hmm. Hmm. Yes. Okay. Correct. That's right. Mm. Really good question. Hmm. Okay. Good. Great questions. Okay. Yes. Mm. Mm. Right. Okay, great. First off, Liz, do you mind just giving out survey cards? So Liz just going to give out survey cards because I want to just better understand what you want to learn about first. She's got pens with her survey cards. Yeah, Liz, you can hand out too. Okay, first question. 401k, 403b, all the retirement plans with your work. If they are with your work currently and you're working with them, they have to stay with your work. If you leave your work, though, you can move them. Okay, you can move that 401k. You can either roll it over into your new job or you can find your own plan. Okay, so once again, if you have a plan with your work, it has to stay with your work. But if you do leave it, then you can roll it over into some another program. That I will have to do a separate session on exactly what you do with those. Okay, so I find that a lot of people, I work with a lot of engineers and a lot of nurses, and they find they leave these plans behind and they forget. So yes, let's make sure we move that money over to make sure it's growing for you. Okay, so hopefully that answers that first question. Next question is on the estate planning side, a will and trust. You should have both. Okay, so the will gives instructions of what is going to happen when you pass away to all your stuff, everything that you own. Okay, gives detailed instructions. That will have something called an executor. So when you talk about the administrator, it's called an executor. The executor is in charge of executing all your final wishes. Okay, so it'll talk about your different bank accounts. That executor will be in charge of closing all your bank accounts, filing your last taxes. They'll be in charge of washing all your clothes and donating them if that's what you wanted. They'll be in charge of closing all your like cell phone, car insurance. It's a big job. It's a very big job. So should you be the executor? If you feel you can handle that during that time period, then yes, okay, you can be the executor, but maybe have some help. Also, it costs money because the executor has to take care of a lot of administrative work. Okay, so if you are in charge of the being executor, make sure that whoever you leave in charge is capable. I'll give you a story. Okay, this unfortunately happened to us. Is Liz's mom passed away about a year and a half ago. Okay, unexpected, 55 years old. Okay, luckily she had a will. She had everything in place. They had a falling out, so the mom made some changes without telling us. Okay, but there was a will. With the will, we actually assign a chunk of money to the executor so they can take care of these expenses because when you go to accountant, they charge you money. When you go to different places, they charge you money to do this work. So she changed some things so there was no money. So the first executor was her sister. The sister saw that there was no money in the estate, so she went to the backup executor, because you want to have a backup executor, and told the backup executor, which was mom's friend, "Oh, don't be the executor because there's no money." So she backed out too. So who was left in charge? It was us. So on the will side, that is important. Okay. Now on when it comes to what was the other part? The trust. Okay. For the trust is passing on the wealth, specific items. So your bank accounts, everything that you have. So if you don't have a trust, that money stays in limbo, and it can stay in limbo forever. In fact, a lot of the times people have a lot of different accounts or different secret bank things that you have. So my mom has a safety deposit box that she has money in there, which I told her she's not legal to do that. But she does all these different things. She doesn't tell me. So without the trust, we don't know what happens. The government will be left in charge. Now, the government does not know what you want. So you have to have a trust. Now, the trust can cost a bit of money, okay? The wills, I can help you do that, okay? My team and I can help you do that. But a trust does cost money depending on your situation. So it'll vary, okay? So maybe one day we can bring a lawyer here to start to teach that for you guys, specifically so you understand the process of a trust. My suggestion is, if you own things, you should have a trust. Okay, it just makes things a lot easier for your family, or else it will cost them a lot more money. Okay, so the trust, because I'm new to the U.S. Okay, first thing I did is I got my insurance, protection, everything, medical plan, everything, and then I said I need to get a will done, even though I only don't have much things, just a car and furniture and stuff right now. But I was like, I need to get a will done, so I applied, and I'm gonna get my will done. And then the next thing is I said I need to get this trust done. So for me, for a basic trust, this is what they quoted me. Just to let you guys know, it's about $1,500. Okay, that's what they quoted me, and I don't have much stuff, so it may get a little more expensive. But if you don't do that, it may cost your family members $10,000. So that's the difference. I mean, when we talk about organization, you do not want to leave your family with a lot of responsibility. Okay, you want to lead them to grieve happy, if that's possible. So hopefully that kind of helps you understand. So as I go through this process, okay, I'm going through it too, because I'm a new American, okay? So I'm learning all the finer details of everything just because I want to go through the process so I can educate more properly and tell you real facts and bring in people like lawyers, professionals, accountants to come and talk to your community to say, okay, now we know the basic financial structures of everything, but let's deep dive into these things so then you know what to do. Okay? Any other questions? Any other questions? Good? Sure. Okay.
Yes, I want to appreciate you for that wonderful, valuable questions. I pretty much believe that you got the understanding between the difference between will and trust. The will can actually be written by us. You can do that. We can show you what to do. But for trust, you need an estate attorney. And everyone is encouraged to have a trust. Because once you have a trust, automatically, whatever the property you have does not go through probate. Every person that passes on, you lose. If you lose a loved one, for example, the finances in the account, you cannot just have access to it. It can take over a year. That's how the process, how difficult it is. That's why we encourage everyone to have a trust. And from the relationships we have with some of our other partners, we can help you set up that meeting so you can have your trust done with an attorney, and that can be taken care of. The income, yeah. Mhm. No. There'll be no contest at all. That's the difference. Whatever be your properties, all your estates, it's always good to put them in a trust. If it's in a trust, it doesn't go probate. But if it's not in a trust, they're going to come for their taxes or whatever debt this person left here. So it's important that we know that. And we can actually help you set up that appointment and take care of that. And if we have more people, we can make sure that they have a discount for you. Any other question? Okay, we'll want to the next slide for testimonial. We'll have our sister Rosie to give a testimonial of the financial education, how the financial education have helped her and some of us so far.
Good morning, afternoon. So a little bit about myself. My name is Rosie Renteria. I've been in this campaign for the past 5 years. And because of this campaign, it has really situated myself in a better financial future. They'll bring up my slide here shortly. My background is 911. For many, many years, I worked 911. Made a lot of money, of course, because I worked a lot of overtime. But then, again, I never actually sit down with anyone to go over my finances. You know, how I made money. Money went out. For some reason, I made so much money, but I never had any money, okay? So, but because of this campaign for the past 5 years has really, made me aware of what I need to do and where I need to be. And here, it'll come up shortly. Anybody have other questions? We can take our questions. You have a question? Oh, you need microphone?
I just had a question about kind of more on the high yield, like Roth IRA side. Because I believe I have a high yield account, like a family high yield account with WFG, but also, I guess as a college student, like a personal high yield savings account that I can just put money into myself, that I can also see. I just want to know if you guys also offer that as well, like outside of like a family high yield savings.
High yield account that she has with her family. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can set up your own. I think it's just learning about the one thing is what is the money for? Always know that first. If, for example, you don't have emergency fund, do you live on your own? Do you live with the family? Student. Okay, awesome. Number one is, what is the money for? So I'm actually, right after this, I'm going to go talk to a student as well. They made a little bit of money from selling some art that they did. And they said they want to I want to make sure it grows. Everybody wants the money to grow, which is great. But I told them, like, wait a minute, but what if something goes wrong and say for a young person, they maybe want to travel, they want small expenses here and there, right? So I said, no, we can't put everything in long-term savings. You got to put money in different positions. So for me, I need to understand, well, what are the things coming up this year? Because if you're like, I want to do a road trip with my friends and blah, blah, and I'll need some of that money, then I can't put all the money into something that will grow very high. So I have to understand the different positions. So can you do it? Yes, but more importantly is what do you need the money for in the upcoming time period? And if we know that, then I'll tell you, okay, this money should be for this. This money should be for retirement. This money should be for buying a house or a car or whatever it is, or vacation or whatever it is. So, but yes, we can.
Does that answer your question? Okay. Any other question, please? Okay, please go ahead.
Be able to save 10% of our income?
At least 10%.
At least 10%. Okay. The reality is that it's very difficult to say 10% because at times even the money is not enough. So how is somebody going to say 10% when the income, after you paid all the bills, you are barely left with anything? So how are you going to save? Especially for some of us that are immigrants, because we still have commitment back home. And we have to do our commitment. So how are we going to save that 10%?
A really good question, actually. This is a challenge I had. So, it's a mindset thing. So, as soon as you get paid, we have to think, number one, who is the most important person? It's you. Okay. Now, everybody wants your money. Okay. Everybody wants your money, but you have to prioritize you first. Now, your family also wants your money too, and to me, my mom is everything. Okay, I do this because I want to take care of my mom, but I understand if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of my mom either. So how do I save 10% even though bills are high? I start with what makes sense to me at this point. So it doesn't matter how much you save; it matters that you do save consistently. So if it starts with $25, start with $25. I know it may not seem like a lot, but it's actually a massive deal. It's a really big deal. So whenever someone starts to save with me and they say, hey, reality is $25, I'm like, that is a big deal. But can it be sustainable over long term? No matter what happens, can you save those $25? Because if you could save 25, you could save 50. If you could save 50, you could save 100. So that's where we start. So the answer is, I cannot start with 10% either, okay? Because like I said, terrible spending. But I started with $100. 50, he said, can you do $50 a paycheck? I said, yeah, I can do that. When you look at the strategy and you see that it's very easy to do, then you're on the right track. Then that's the right plan for you. But if you look at it and in your heart, you're like, I don't know. No, it's not a good plan. Because I need longevity. I need it to last forever. Something that we can continue over long term. This is a very good question. But it does not matter how much you save. It matters that you do save. Okay? Slowly through time, you'll build it up. That's a really good question. So so why should you save if you're a lot older? So this is where I say, well, is there something that you need specifically that you want to do? Because if you are, the key thing is the goal. Okay, so for example, for a lot of my retirees, they say their grandkids. I want to be able to go spend time with them or give them gifts or take them out or whatever. Maybe it's saving for that. So I need to find a purpose of why. Because if your retirement's good and everything's good and there's nothing really to save for and everything's organized, then I say, okay, well, I mean, if there's nothing really that you want, then yeah, maybe there's nothing you need to save for. But if there is something, then I say, okay, that's what we save for, and I'll show you where to put it. Okay, so you have access to it if you need it. You don't want to put it into something locked in, okay? Or you can't take out until a long time. Okay, so positioning is important. So should you save? I mean, it depends on the situation. So if you're almost retirement and you're like, well, based on what I'm doing now, my retirement's okay, I'm fine, then no, then you're okay. If there's not enough money for retirement and you're like, well, I can only save $25, how is that going to make a difference? Okay, that's another very important key thing, because saving is a habit and it's a mentality. So as you start saving, you're going to gain momentum and you're going to gain excitement, but more importantly, you're going to have time to think, how do I make more money? Because as soon as you start to save more and have more, you have more time to think. You're not living on survival. I need to take people out of survival mode. Because if you're in survival mode, you're not thinking of anything else. You're just thinking, how can I make the next day? So I need to pull you out of that. But once you say a $500,000 save, you feel a little more relaxed. You can actually look at things and be like, okay, well, what can I do to position myself in a better financial situation so I can make more money? But if we're not in that position, then we'll always be in survival mode. Yeah? Okay. Any
further questions? Okay.
are those your slides? Oh.
Yeah, just go to the next page. So this is my situation. This campaign, like I said, this campaign has really helped me the workshops, make sure that I attend every weekend. I go every Saturday, every Wednesday, because I know myself. I know I can easily fall off the wagon if I don't come to these meetings. That's why it's so important for me to come. So before you click, this is my personal financial foundation. If you click, when it comes to proper protection, is it letting you? I had nothing. Here I am, a single mom, 2 young kids, and no proper protection. What if something would have happened to me along the way? How are my kids going to be taken care of? Who's going to take them? Financially, I know my family is not probably in a worse situation than I was. Some of them don't even work or unable to work. So, but my debt management, I sure knew how to use credit cards. I had 50,000. All that was credit card. Anytime my credit card came in the mail, I signed up for the credit card. In school, they teach you that you need to have credit, you have to sign up, but you need to make sure you make your payments on time. So that was me. I thought that was obtaining credit. I signed up for every credit card, okay? My emergency fund, I had 0. My credit cards was my emergency fund. Anything, I had a flat, car repairs, it was going on my credit cards. My investment, again, for my future, my retirement, my kids' college, I had 0. I had nothing. But when I came here, click, now I have $1.5 million because I've learned, I've had to be disciplined. Like I say, it's very hard for me because I was so used to just spending money. The more money I made, the more money, I spent. So 1.5 million. My debt management, I'm still working on it. I still have some debt. My emergency fund, click, better than 0. This is why I came to this campaign also to have extra income, okay? As I share with families, I also make income. Investment, more than one has 0, okay? So because of this, I've learned to stay on track. I've learned to start sharing with families. So I welcome you to come to our workshops. They're free. And thank you, Mr. Kingsley.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sister Rosie. I want to believe that from the information that has been given so far, everyone must have taken 1 or 2 lessons. There's a need for us to build our financial foundation strong, just like a house. You cannot build your house without a proper foundation. Otherwise, that house will crumble. We need to be able to have an appointment from your survey that we passed on to look at what exactly is your own situation, because everyone's own situation differs. So we look at your financial foundation, have a kind of financial awareness checkup. People go for medical checkup, but had anyone ever sat you down to have your financial awareness check? We need to do that. When Mr. George was training, he talked about those things that we need to take care of. So your own may be different, and the solutions is not all the same. So we need to be able to get that education. So that's why we want to be able to teach more. Like for today, because of time, we didn't touch more on the retirement angle and even the estate details. But based on the question, we're able to address some of those. Subsequently, we're going to have more opportunity to break it down so that you can be able to begin to apply them. We'll have free workshops, Monday to Fridays. We will avail them to you. You can join online at 1 p.m., 7 p.m., or 9 p.m. We want this campaign to reach every family, and those that want to be part of the team to help, you are highly welcome, because we want people that will train so that they can begin to help other people. We cannot reach everyone. We need to reach 30 million families by the year 2030. That's our financial literacy campaign that we do a lot, but time will fail because we just want to wrap it up based on the time given. Thank you, Pastor, and thank you, Church, for all. I want to sincerely appreciate my beloved brother, Pastor Papalola. He loves you all so much that he has given you the opportunity to learn So please avail yourself of the opportunity. If you have any needs, you can reach us through your pastor or through, we're going to leave my contact with him and that of George so that we can be able to take it up from there. For those who need to get your survey card right away, if you have not filled it, please can you fill it? Put your appointment time, the time of your appointment. So if you have maybe like some that can put it at the back, if maybe you have a time that you can do that. So that will be fine. I think that's okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very, very much, Pastor Keleke. Pastor Keleke is from the Church of God Mission. Is it also, I keep saying Church of God Mission.
Household of God Mission.
Okay, thank you very much.
I started there, but I'm no longer there. That was years back.
Okay, so we thank God for the opportunity to have George and his team and Pastor Keleke to, lay the foundation. This is just more or less like laying the foundation, letting us know what we need to begin to do. But I know there is so much more into financial management that I want them to come back again. Particularly, I want us to talk about debt management. I want us to talk about the question she raised on the estate and will. But when you come next, you come with the attorney, so that those of us that want to take action, we can take action immediately on the spot. So we'll talk about that then, and we'll plan it we'll know the date so that we can invite more people. Thank you very much for this opportunity. And also, I noticed you talk about part-time, you want to make money from it, extra income. So do you get paid in this?
Sure.
Because people say you are sharing education. I don't mind if I'll make extra income from that.
Let me explain. So we are looking for people so I actually came from Canada to expand our financial literacy campaign here. So we have our office in Galleria, and we are looking for people that we can train and develop. So right now, but for us here, I really just want to focus on the education. So I just want to make sure that I provide that for you. And as you go through the process yourself, if you are like, hey, this is good, can you show me what your campaign's about and how I can get licensed and go through that process? Absolutely, I can sit down with you, or Kingsley can sit down with you to show you that as well, okay? So, but really, I'm here just to bring the education.
Thank you so much. We'll discuss as a church, and we agree on the next area we want to focus on, whether it's insurance, planning, or whatever, whether it's debt management, or whether it's, what is the other one? Estate planning and all those stuff. And then I will get across to your team. So we'll let you know what date we'll have that. So as soon as we have that, and those that want to go into to become part of it, I think I would like to be part. So we'll go from there. So we've come to the end because we say it's 1 hour. We don't intend to keep anybody waiting beyond 1 hour. And I know the time is off. So please, if you have the card, you can turn it back to them, and then they will reach out to us individually and so, and we'll go from there. God bless you all for coming. And then we're just going to pray. So you came all the way from Canada? Donald Trump is putting a tariff on you people now.
I'm American.
Oh, man. Thank you, everyone. Please, let's return the cards. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Oh, thank you. Oh, wow, what is this? Oh, thank you so much. Ooh, I love jollof rice. It's a bit spicy, yeah. I love jollof rice. Oh, that's so awesome. Hey, Liz, jollof rice. Jollof rice is sweet. It's so good.
So I will enroll. I will talk to him later. I will enroll.
Lawyer,
doctors,
doctor,
yeah. The woman that was asking me a question, I said, son is going to be retiring soon. Her son is a medical doctor.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And there's one that works with Google too.
Oh, okay.
IT.
Yeah, I love teaching this stuff.
So that
yeah.
trust, I would like to do that too.
Yeah, so what I can do is I'm gonna meet the lawyer. Is I
Next time you can
can
call.
set up a time where he specifically comes here and explains everything.
Okay.
And after that, if they're interested, they can set time to start doing it.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah. And then, but then for you, I can connect you as well. You have a survey card? Yeah.
Yeah. Should I put my number there?
Yeah.
I'm bad when you come to almost everything in the PA.
Okay, yeah, perfect. Yeah, well, I'll give you a show, and when's the best time to call you, or when are you
Evening.
usually free?
Evening.
Okay.
Evening from maybe 7 p.m.
Okay.
So at times, it depends. The 7 p.m., call me at 8. Let me just say 8.
Okay, okay. Yeah.
Do you want to put the time?
Yeah.
Goodness.
And